Dr. Doris Adelaide Derby is an American activist, documentary photographer, and retired director of Georgia State University's Office of African American Student Services and Programs and adjunct associate professor of anthropology. She was active in the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement, and her work discusses the themes of race and African American identity. She was a working member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, as well as co-founder of the Free Southern Theater, and the founding director of the Office of African American Student Services and Programs. Her photography has been exhibited internationally. 2 of her photographs were published in Hands on the Freedom Plow, Personal Accounts by Women in SNCC, to which she also contributed an essay about her experiences in the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement. Derby lives in Atlanta, Georgia with her husband, actor Bob Banks. They are active leaders in their community and members of local and national organizations. Doris Derby's parents met in New York and married in the mid-1930s. Born in 1939, Derby was raised in Williamsbridge, the outskirts of the Bronx. During her time in a predominantly white elementary school, she started to notice a lack of black representation in her textbooks, movies, advertisements, and in the arts. For this reason, in her early age, she was motivated to make a change. She began to formally study dance while in elementary school and gravitated towards African-centered dance traditions. Derby received a scholarship to study at the Catherine Dunham African dance classes at the Harlem YMCA. Derby's association with the civil rights movement began when she joined the NAACP youth chapter in her hometown of New York City at the age of 16. She continued her association with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, while attending Hunter College in New York. As a student activist, she was on the front lines of the civil rights movement. Derby worked primarily with SNCC in New York, Albany, Georgia, and throughout the state of Mississippi. In 1963, before the March on Washington, Dr. Derby, an elementary school teacher at the time, was recruited to work in an adult literacy program initiated by the SNCC at Tougaloo College located in Mississippi. During this time, Derby recalled rooming with Sandra Casey Hayden and Helen Jean O'Neill McCrae, who contributed in developing literacy materials to help prepare black people to pass the required, yet discriminatory literacy test for voter eligibility in Mississippi. As a SNCC organizer in Jackson, Mississippi, Derby felt compelled to work in the South as she saw a need for change through her life experiences. Her experience moving to the South as a native Northerner sparked ignited her. A war on the home front had been started. For this reason, people from all walks of life, backgrounds, and ethnic groups were called to work together for a greater cause. Many individuals participated and were committed to the movement. However, black people were most impacted by the injustice of the South and took this time to really take a stance. Derby made many contributions during her time at Tougaloo College with John O'Neill, another SNCC worker on the Literacy Project, as well as Gilbert Moses, a journalist for the Jackson Free Press. Most notably, she co-founded the Free Southern Theater, FST. Derby felt that a repertory theater company could travel throughout the state and incorporate all of the arts through the development of a cultural format, creating a space for interaction with the people in the movement in the grassroots community who had suffered the most. The theater would be a vehicle that could be used to inform and perhaps reveal new creative strategies to deal with the institution of segregation. We needed to look into ourselves in order to empower ourselves and reclaim the freedom we did not have in Mississippi and other southern states. Derby saw a need for the creation of a cultural artistic tool that could be used to involve, inspire, enlighten, and galvanize black people to critically think and create for themselves. The theater provided the opportunity for black people to creatively take on issues within the context of the civil rights movement, segregation, and closed society of violent Mississippi. Furthermore, it sparked social change, social justice, equal opportunity, and citizenship regardless of race. From 1963 to 1972, Derby served as a SNCC field secretary in various capacities in Jackson, Mississippi, in the Council of Federated Organizations, COFO, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, MFDP, the Poor People's Corporation, PPC, and the Child Development Group of Mississippi, CDGM, Head Start program. During this period, she worked on preparations for the Freedom Summer, taught in various educational enrichment programs, and promoted local arts and culture. She also helped incorporate Liberty House Cooperative Marketing, an arm of the PPC. Derby was also involved in the marketing, public relations, and training of these groups. In 1967, she joined Southern Media Incorporated, a documentary, photography, and filmmaking group in Jackson, Mississippi that traveled throughout the state documenting the lives, struggles, initiatives and gains of people in and around the movement. She lectured and exhibited at Jackson State College on African art and culture. Her many trials and tribulations in the SNCC and FST in Mississippi are reflected in her independently published book Poetography, Artistic Reflections of a Mississippi Lifeline in Words and Images, 1963 to 1972, 2019. Derby left Mississippi in 1972 and focused on African and African American studies, for which she earned an M.A., as well as a Ph.D. in social anthropology from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. In 1990, she joined the University System of Georgia at Georgia State University, GSU, as an adjunct associate professor of anthropology and the founding director of the Office of African American Student Services and Programs, OASSP. Her department's achievements included the retention and graduation of a vast number of African American students, as well as the enhancement of cultural and educational ties between African, Caribbean, Latin, and African American students in the community at large. She also co-founded the Performing and Visual Arts Council, PVAC, at Georgia State University in 2008. At the end of 2012, Derby retired from Georgia State University after 22 years of service. Derby also taught at the College of Charleston, the University of Illinois, and the University of Wisconsin. Derby has exhibited her photographs both locally and nationally. Her photographs have been shown at the Smithsonian Institution, the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, Illinois, the Bronx Museum of the Arts in New York, and the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles, California. Derby's photographs have also been exhibited in Atlanta, Georgia, at the High Museum, the Hammonds House Museum, Spelman College, the Fulton County Southwest Arts Center, and the Auburn Avenue Research Library. As well, her photographs have been exhibited at the Art, Design, and Architecture Museum, UC Santa Barbara, the Jackson State University and Margaret Walker Alexander Center Art Galleries in the George and Leah McKenna Museum of African American Art in New Orleans. Other exhibits displayed in Atlanta were at Georgia State University, in the Gallery Lounge in the Ernest G. Welch Gallery. In 2009, her work was part of an exhibit, Road to Freedom, at the High Museum in Atlanta, which explored the role of photography in the civil rights movement. Derby's work can be found in the following: Polly Greenberg's The Devil Has Slippery Shoes, 1990, Clarissa Myrick Harris's Women in the Civil Rights Movement, Trailblazers and Torchbearer, 1941 to 1965, 1993, Deborah Willis's Reflections in Black, A History of Black Photographers, 2000, The Nation's Longest Struggle, Looking Back on the Modern Civil Rights Movement, D.C. Everest Oral History Project, 2013. Her many trials and tribulations in the literacy and theater projects are reflected in her self-published book Poetography, Artistic Reflections of a Mississippi Lifeline in Words and Images, 1963 to 1972. As February 7, 2020, Derby's work is included in an exhibition of civil rights art at the Turner Contemporary in London. The exhibition brings such works to the UK for the first time and includes sculptural assemblages, paintings, and quilts by more than 20 African American artists from Alabama and surrounding states. For the 50th anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington, Derby was interviewed for a prospective documentary film about past and current March on Washington participants, along with 16 others who participated, for Time magazine's 5-part documentary March Special, One Man, One March, One Dream. She was also interviewed on WSB-TV, Channel 2 Atlanta, for a segment shown on the anniversary, as well as a commemorative special program that was aired the day before. In addition, Derby was featured in a documentary film about past and current March on Washington participants. This film was sponsored by the National Center for Civil and Human Rights, with the interview being conducted by Atlanta-based film interns. In April 2010, Derby and other SNCC members gathered to celebrate the 50th anniversary of SNCC. Derby is one of the 52 contributors to the book Hands on the Freedom Plow, Personal Accounts of 52 Women in SNCC. On October 6, 2011, Derby received the 26th Governor's Award in the Humanities in Atlanta for documenting and preserving images and stories enabling current and future generations to learn about the civil rights movement and social change in the Deep South.